أبا بي ما تخلي ملامة إسرائيل بابا أبا بي ما هبي متامة إسرائيل بابا.
Shalom Nashim, welcome back to Kol Elohim. My name is Malka Davaria Batya of the Nation of Yisrael in Baltimore, Maryland, and this is our final installment on our lesson, Niddah, it is a matter of sanctification. So far we've covered Niddah, when a man and a woman come together, and we stopped in the middle of menstruation. During menstruation we have found that once a woman's flow starts, that she is set apart, or Niddah, for 7 days. Anybody that sits or touches anything that she sits or lays upon, they are unclean until the evening. Now we're going to go on in chapter 15 of Vayikra and deal with a complication if a lady's menstrual goes beyond 7 days. And if a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall be as the days of her separation. She shall be unclean. Every bed whereon she lay all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her separation. And whatsoever she sit upon shall be unclean, as the uncleanness of her separation. And whosoever touches those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes, and bathe in water, and be unclean until the even. But if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean. Let's go back to the top of these verses 25 and begin to break this down verse by verse so we can get a complete understanding of what is happening here. In the first verse it says, "And if a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation." Now this is outside of her initial 7 days of Niddah. This is what is considered, and some people call the red days. Regardless if you're flowing or not during your time of separation, you are Niddah for 7 days. But now we have a complication where if a woman's flow actually runs for more than 7 days, then there's another set of rules or procedures that she has to do. Let's continue with that verse. "All the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall be as the days of her separation. She shall be unclean." So in other words, her red days increases from 7 days to the total days that she is on her flow. So for example, if a woman is on her flow 9 days, then the time of her separation, or her initial Niddah separation, has increased from 7 days to 9 days. Verses 26 and 27 extends a prohibition on anybody touching her seat or her bed to the length of days of her flow, extending it from 7 to however many days it is past 7 days. Now verse 27, it reads, verse 28, "But if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean." So whenever her issue is done, then she has to count another 7 days. Again, this is sometimes called the white days. And after 7 white days, then she shall be considered to be clean. So if a woman has her flow for 9 days, which is outside of the 7 days of Niddah, she has to count those 9 days as red days, where she is still considered rejected and outside of the camp. Then she has to count to herself 7 more days. After these 7 white days, then she is considered no longer being Niddah. She can rejoin the camp, and she's no longer rejected, and all the prohibitions of her bed and the thing that she sit on has been lifted. Now we're going to deal with the last part of Niddah for women, which is when we bring forth children, Baruch Hashem. We're going to go to Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 12, and we're going to start at verse 2 and read on to verse 5. And it says, "Speak unto the children of Yisrael, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man-child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, according to the days of the separation for her infirmity shall she be cleaned. And in the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised, and she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 30 days. She shall touch no hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying be fulfilled. But if she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days." So basically we see here that for a total of 40 days, if she has a male child, the woman is separated from the camp. Well, actually the first 7 days she is unclean as in the days of her separation, and the term the days of her separation is Niddah. So for those 7 days she's just as separate as if she was a Niddah. But while she's even in her purifying days, and this goes for both when she has a male and a female child, it says she shall continue in the blood of her purifying. For a woman, if she has a male child, 33 days. If she has a female child, an additional 66 days. And in verse 4 it says the purifying, it is the word tahora in the Hebrew lexicon, and that is 2893, and it means ceremonial purification or moral purity. So in other words, she's going through this purification so she can be whole again. She can now be ceremonially and ritually clean to participate in the rites of Yisrael. And this is where we see when we study the other 2 instances of Niddah, where we said you can't come into the sanctuary, you can't touch any holy things. This is where we get that prohibition from, because it says here that she shall touch no hollow thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying. So anybody who is a Niddah, anybody who is going through a purification, cannot touch anything that is hallowed, nor come into the sanctuary. So that excludes us when we are Niddah from coming to services. It excludes us from touching the Holy Scriptures. It excludes us from participating in any holy or sanctified obligations we might need to be a part of. If you are a man and you are a teacher or the head of a congregation, if you become unclean, let's say for example on a Friday evening after sunset, you cannot go into that sanctuary on Sabbath morning to bring forth your message, because you are not clean. You are tameh. You need to be purified, and you do that by sitting out, washing yourself, and waiting until the sunset. This is the end of our lesson for Niddah, and I thank you all for spending this time with me, and I give the Creator all praise and glory for using me as His vessel. I cannot impress upon you enough the importance of us keeping Niddah and being aware of making sure that we are keeping our homes and our sanctuaries pure for the presence of the Most High. Our next series of lessons will be really looking into what does Niddah point to. We've talked about the physical laws and the physical applications, but now we're going to go a little bit deeper in understanding the mind of the Most High when He gave us these laws of sanctification. So until next time, Nashim, this is Malka Bat Yah. Shalom ve Ahava.
אבא ואמא עוד חולים על ארץ ישראל.